Carol tries to bring Daryl out of the cold, and Michonne shows she is not a big music fan as the road trips to Hilltop continue. But the real question is, what the hell happened to Maggie? Take that, priceless violin. It's The Walking Dead, Season 9, Episode 7, Stradivarius. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of The Walking Dead. So yes, lots of spoilers coming your way. Alright, before I get started with this week's review, I do want to comment a bit about last week's review, or more to the point, what was missing from last week's review, and that is a discussion of the Whispers. Many questions in the comments have been about that. As no doubt many of you caught, there did seem to be a talking zombie, or walker, sorry, at the end of last episode while Eugene and Rosita were hiding under the mud by the river. And the reason I did not bring it up is I didn't hear it. I didn't. There was all of this walker growling and noise and such, and I did not hear any talking at all. Now, it could entirely be the quality of my speakers on my TV set at home. It is an older set. Or it could just be that I was a little burned out at the episode. Regardless of whatever reasons, I didn't catch it, which is why I didn't talk about it. Now, I did ask quite a few friends of mine afterwards, and it seemed to be about a 50-50 split on people that heard it and people that did not. I read about it afterwards, well after my review got published, and so I went back and replayed that final scene a couple of times. And I think it took about 3 times before I was finally able to pick up the, you know, "Don't let them get away," or whatever that was. So my apologies for not bringing that up. However, if I missed it, then I don't think that it was a very good reveal. Sure, I make mistakes, of course, but that's all that I can say. Now, with this week's episode, we did hear a bit more, and in fact, when they were talking about last time on The Walking Dead, the vocals were much clearer. I just feel that I'm probably going to have to start watching the show with closed captioning on so that I can catch all of that. And we did get a little bit more in our opening bit as Rosita was being chased. These voices were much clearer, so I appreciate that. I think that's really what they've got to do. But I'm not going to get too much into who they are or anything like that until the show actually does a bit more reveal. For those of you that are not familiar with what the show is going towards, I don't want to spoil it for you. So I'm going to hold off on really talking about that until, you know, the show does a little bit more on its own reveal. Now, one other thing I want to talk about briefly is Maggie. Or more point, the lack of Maggie that we discovered really in this week's episode. Now, I know many of you are probably aware of it. The news came out much after the episode aired. But Rick's final episode was also Maggie's final episode. She isn't dead, obviously, so there's always the potential to come back. Kind of like Rick, but a lot less ceremony with her departure. Rick gets advertisements, announcements from the beginning of the season, a whole episode of reflection, and Maggie gets a letter. Okay, she gets a few more comments. Apparently what seems to have happened here is she has gone off, she's taken little young Herschel and gone off with Georgie, the lady there with the big book on, you know, how creating a civilization and all that, the key to a future, to go out and help build some more worlds. Is, you know, civilizations, communities, is apparently what she is off doing. And I just gotta say, that kind of sucks. It seems like she maybe pissed somebody off on the production staff and they decided to sort of get rid of her this way. Much less pomp and circumstance. Now I know that Lauren Cohan was in contract negotiations, and that's what sort of seems to have fallen apart for a while. She wanted more pay. She wanted to get more online with the rest of the leads. And since AMC wasn't really responding to that, she went out to look for extra work, and she did get cast in Whiskey Cavalier on, was it ABC? I think one of the networks. Now, apparently, the filming of that show and Walking Dead would have worked. They film in off times, so it would have been possible to do some of both of those jobs, but apparently that hasn't happened. So yeah, Lauren Cohan is gone for the foreseeable future, possibly forever. All I can say is, I don't know, maybe Maggie saw the writing on the wall with the gun of Glenn, and then Abraham, and then of course Carl, and now Rick gone. Maybe she was just like, you know, let me get out of here while the going's good. Well, I'm still a recognizable name. Build a little bit on that, go off in a different direction. So, unfortunate that we won't be seeing Maggie anymore, that she's not going to be getting a proper send-off, but good luck to you, Lauren Cohan. I hope things work out. All right, now as for the episode itself, some good and some bad. Kind of like last episode. I don't know. I'm a little split here. There were some very interesting parts. I like the new characters. Really, the stuff with them I thought was some of the better stuff. It was the sequences with a lot of the older characters that started to annoy me. And I think part of it is the complications involved in this 6-year time jump that they have done. Because in some ways it seems that time has passed. Obviously, we have the community seems to have separated out. There's not a whole lot of communication between them. Michonne doesn't even know that Maggie's not at Hilltop, and Jesus has been re-elected leader, so there's obviously been some time, not a whole lot of talking going on between these different communities. So, I mean, so there's kind of that, and yet there is also a lot of whining of things that have passed. Specifically, Daryl out looking for Rick. Now, I know that in the conversation with Carol, that seemed to have sort of implied things that he went out to look for Rick, there wasn't a body, they didn't find anything, and then after a while, it just seemed easier to just stay out here. But again, 6 years. You would think that this would have wrapped up. Now, I do like Daryl with a dog. That was a great, that to me, that totally works. Daryl with a dog is a perfect combination. Also nice to see that there's still some dogs out there and they haven't all been taken out by walkers. So, some cool moments with that. But yeah, but there's just this, there's things like that. It just doesn't seem, some stuff works, some stuff doesn't, and I just think it's trying to, with 6 years, to try and let people know that time has passed, but people still have certain issues. It just feels a little clumsy to me. So I'm not entirely on board with some of the ways that things have worked out there. And yet it's not like there isn't been communication at all between the different communities. I mean, we have this whole little sub-storyline of a fair. It's apparently trying to be set up. Aaron and Jesus were talking about this, which I'm assuming is some sort of just gathering of the different communities that are around. Again, that's just something that just seems a little clumsy. I mean, there's enough communication where we know that they're trying to set it up, and we know that Alexandria, Michonne specifically, it seems, doesn't want to be involved. But again, why? There's obviously backstory and things that we don't understand. There seems to have been a larger fallout between Michonne and Maggie post-Rick, because the whole Negan thing seemed to have gotten settled in that one episode very cleanly. So something else seems to have happened. We do know that Michonne did have some encounter, some betrayal that seems to have soured her against the any newcomers, which is the complications we had last week. We also saw another X scar on Daryl's back tonight. So that's implying that it wasn't just Michonne, this was something else. And again, maybe this was something else that pushed Daryl away, but they haven't really sort of implied to it. So we've got some inklages of past stories and stuff, which again should be breathed out. But it seems kind of clumsily done. They're giving us hints, but then almost purposely avoiding some of those stories. I know that they want to take time and play that out, but maybe they should have dealt with some of those things before they started pushing this whole, you know, whispers, evolved walkers concept going on. So again, they're trying to juggle a whole lot here, and I don't think all of it entirely works. I did like the Aaron and Jesus kind of fight training bit. Not sure how many of you were familiar with the old Pink Panther movies, Inspector Clouseau and his assistant Kato. Clouseau used to have Kato attack him randomly just to kind of keep his training and reflexes up, and that's all that I could think about when we have Aaron attacking Jesus, you know, just out of the blue. I guess that still his left foot's making a little bit too much noise, a little too heavy on that left foot step. But so that was kind of a fun little bit I enjoyed. But again, just weird. These guys are meeting enough in order to continue this training on, and yet there doesn't seem to be enough for real communication to be happening. It's just weird. All right, our newcomers on their way to Hilltop with Michonne. This is, again, we're doing a lot of earning of trust, I think is sort of the basis of this episode. Family seems to be reinforcement. We've got the newcomers talking about the loss of Bernie and how that affected Magda. You know, he liked to get under her skin, had a very ugly shirt that she didn't like, so he wore it, and it's things like that. People that you love, but also kind of hate and have to deal with. That's what family is all about. And that seems to be a continually reinforced idea that we had going on with this episode. The conversation between Miko and Michonne there about the importance of family. But through this road trip, we do the little visit to, I guess, our newcomers' old camp, where Judith had found them when they were being overrun by the walkers. And this seems to be a rather established camp. I mean, the impression that I had initially with these people were they were moving through and they got overrun by walkers. They just happened to be close enough to Alexandria. That's why Judith was able to find them. And yet when we get to their camp, it seems pretty well set up. We've got a big container. It seems we've hauled out. They've got chairs for relaxation. They had their collection of gear and stuff. So seemed to be a semi-permanent camp. Maybe they had just moved into the area and that's where they found it. I was kind of curious how the container got knocked over onto the walkers. Perhaps as the herd came through and they hit it and they pushed it over. I mean, again, some cool scenes, just not entirely sure how it all sort of went down. But we're, you know, again, we're getting a lot of backstory and stuff, which was good. I do think the scenes with the newcomers, like I had mentioned in the opener, are some of the best. These are new people, so we're learning a lot about them, but I like their interaction. I like everything that each character sort of portrays into it. They got a nice group, which I did enjoy. The Stradivarius, however, look, we're reinforcing how Michonne doesn't trust people. She's even taken away all of their weapons and such as they get back to their camp. You know, load them up. We can't let them have it. I'm not going to bring people with weapons in towards Hilltop. We're exhibiting a lot of the Michonne distrust here, and I understand that's sort of the purpose of this part of the episode. But the whole violin thing seemed a bit odd. Now, post-incident, I love the story. Again, Dan Fogler is awesome. I love the story of ancient humans and how musical instruments have exhibited culture, and perhaps that's how they didn't defeat the Neanderthals. They absorbed them, they bonded with them, and the Neanderthals sort of died out, and human beings went on. And, you know, it was these sharing of stories and music and art is what created communities. Again, we're reinforcing this building community idea as well in this episode. That whole speech and stuff, that was exciting. But the death of the Stradivarius annoyed me. One, okay, we get the idea that Luke is looking for the Stradivarius. That's what he was digging around when, was it Sadiq found the flute, the recorder there. That Luke was looking around for something, and it seems to have been this Stradivarius. But I'm assuming he didn't find it in the barn. So they must have, or the building or whatever it is, so they must have found it beforehand. Why is he there in the middle of the night checking it out? Is it just a reinforcement thing? Okay, there's a character, he's interested in the music, the musical instruments, a part of him, this is part of his fetish. His fetish? I love that. Okay. But he should be well aware of Michonne at this point. Lack of trust. So when she says, drop it, he could say, it's a priceless violin. Let me set it down. I can't just drop it. Let me set it. What's with the turn? It's just not smart, not from a survival standpoint. And second, why would Michonne attack the Stradivarius? Whatever he was holding. If she's going to do an attack, it should be to him, right? If he has a weapon, you strike down the person carrying the weapon. You don't try and cut their weapon in half. It's just, these are the small things that annoy me, that just seem such out of character. I mean, even a lot of Michonne here, yes, she distressed, some things have happened, but her whole character has shifted so much. It's hard for me to grab. And just that idea of attacking an object versus the person wielding the object. Again, is this just to damage the dark? So we get so Luke opens up, and so we get the story on it afterwards. I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to repair that Stradivarius at this point. I don't know if they have the equipment or the skill to necessarily do that. So it's, while it was annoying that how that whole scene sort of laid out, really didn't enjoy it. However, the following morning was awesome. It is our Scene of the Week for this week. And yes, that is everyone coming together, the herd attacking whatever little compound and such that they were holding up for the night. Just laid out beautifully. One, we have trust getting back to the hero. Michonne's like, DJ, give them their weapons. Of course you're going to need, you're getting overrun by herds. You need everybody working as well. But then we get to see all the new individual skills that are coming in. The slingshots. Slingshots to take out walkers. I'm sorry, wrist rockets. We probably call them wrist rockets. Was beautiful. We've got Miko with the bow doing cool stuff. And again, thinking. Not just shooting a walker or two, but taking, shooting the, overlay the structure so that it falls down and blocks the rest of the walkers from coming on. We've got Magda with the throwing knives. Certainly very cool. So, I mean, it was great. We get our trust together. I mean, even Dan Fogler, not so much of a fighter, but opening the doors to just sort of block the walkers from getting through. Simple, straightforward, but imaginative. These were the very cool sequences. This was something that getting some old school Walking Dead, some great feel. Good character work, new weapons, new ways of interaction. We're showing that these people are smart, why they have survived, they're thinking a larger picture. So I really enjoyed how this set up. And then of course we also get that emotional moment where it's the herd that took them out. Why? Because here comes Bernie, gutted, with that ugly paisley shirt coming at. And an appropriate response from both ways. We've got Nico and we got Magda emotionally recalling. This is somebody that Magda, again, annoyed Magda, but she liked. They became part of a family, and now she's seeing this gutted husk of a member of her family slowly stumbling at. Her reaction was perfect, was wonderful. And then we had Michonne just coming up behind and gently, I mean as gently as possible, killing him, putting the sword through the back of the head. But not all the way through, so the sword comes out and adds this extra level of gore, but an almost peaceful way of ending, respectful even, of ending Bernie's walker form right there. And then of course, let's get up, let's go, we got to get out of here. It was a beautifully done sequence. Great action, new moves, we get to see the new characters, how they can handle themselves what skills they bring up, and we get a great emotional moment there at the end with Bernie and Michonne respectfully dispatching him so that they can move forward and move on together. It was just, that was a beautifully done sequence. Oh, and the whole Carol, Henry, Daryl sequence, I mean, again, well, there were some complications. Overall, it was nice. It was quick. We have some, I love Henry's little discussion with Daryl there, that Mom says you're her best friend. I thought that was very cool, but she worries about you. I like Daryl's little setup with the traps around to kind of keep walkers at bay, and yet he's still trapping for animals and such as well. And I love the distinction how those traps, the painful ones, are not for the animals, those are for walkers. That's not a way to go slowly like that. You know, again, we're still, the rabbit seemed to have died quickly in that little sling there, however that it got caught. So some good interesting little comparisons there. Great use of the dog to go around and let it know if walkers have been caught in the traps. And also kind of an interesting sequence there of their kind of bonding when dog got trapped in a trap. Never happened before. And I wonder if that is our evolved walkers involved with that particular thing. I think there might be a little hint to that, but we don't get too far into it. But it was just kind of just sort of a nice moment of Daryl watching after his dog, getting caught up, and then Henry coming in and stepping forward and saving his bacon, even though he didn't want him there. And this is sort of this is a good bit of learning to trust each other and that each have back. And the fact that we have Carol hiding in the darkness, out of sight, with her bow all set up, just in case something went wrong. I thought was sort of this nice little thing. Again, Carol, always prepared, always watching, still a badass, even though her plan apparently in this is to kind of let them have this growing moment, this little connection between the two of them. So I thought that was great. And then, of course, the following morning, Carol gets up and Daryl's already packing up the bike because at this point, Henry and Daryl have bonded enough. Little discussion, a little life-saving, a little walker fighting. That's what brings people together in the apocalypse. I thought that was great. And then heading off. Very perfect. Then as soon as they get to Hilltop, it's, well, Daryl's got to take right back off with Aaron and Jesus to go find Eugene. Perfect, nice, great trio. I think that is sort of a perfect trio. And I love Dog. It's just, this is going to be my new favorite character. Do not take out Dog. You've introduced him. We love him. Do not take out Dog now. We like him as a new addition. So anyway, I did like that whole sequence. All right, so just a couple of small things. Tonight's episode directed by Abraham himself, Mr. Michael Cudlitz. So kind of nice. Even when you are dead, you are not dead from the show. You can come back behind the scenes. Very awesome. Also, we had a nice little star cameo. Don't know if any of you guys noticed. C. Thomas Howell, longtime actor, popping up as one of the writers that met up with Michonne to relay the message that Rosita was there at camp and so on. C. Thomas Howell is apparently a friend of Michael Cudlitz, and they needed a character that could ride and speak, and Michael called up his buddy and was like, hey, I'm doing a show, I'm directing Walking Dead episode, do you want to be on? Who doesn't want to be on a Walking Dead episode? Especially if you're not killed in said episode and you could potentially come back. So hopefully we will see him again, but that was kind of a fun little cameo to catch there also. And you know, for a moment when we found out that Maggie was gone and Michonne was still talking about the lady at Hilltop that she was trying to avoid, was almost starting to think that it could have been Tara, who seems to really be the one in charge, because obviously Jesus doesn't really want to be in charge, told Maggie that he would be, but doesn't really want the job. So maybe there'll be another special election called soon. Tara seems to be taking care of stuff, and I think that's a great role for her. So I'm excited to see how, again, some of these characters have evolved, that things have changed in time, the responsibility, the new outlook that is going on. Though, other thing we learned is Clouseau in the apocalypse also still hated. Now, something else that Daryl had mentioned to Henry in their little conversations is the increased appearance of walkers in the area lately. And that might explain maybe some of the reasons why Henry isn't as well trained, or maybe even some of the other people in the community hasn't had to deal with this, is that for a while there wasn't just a whole lot of walkers that were coming through. Perhaps it's in waves. Now we've got sort of an increased wave going on. Now, could this be associated with our mysterious talking walkers? Or is this something else going on? I appreciated the fact that it does let us know that there is some change in the air, and perhaps this is a good reason why we are picking this time frame to jump forward to. The lull is boring. Why do you want to tell stories into this? You want to tell stories when things get exciting, when things get dangerous, and at least we are implying that there is a shift in the environment going on, which is going to motivate a lot of action, which is good. All right, so I think that's going to wrap things up for us. So next week is the mid-season finale. We're going to be finding Eugene. We're going to be encountering some interesting walkers. So this should be where things are going to start to sort of kick forward. The one question I do have is, are they going to set things up and then do another time jump when we get back into the next season, or are things just going to continue? I don't think we should. We've already had 2 time jumps this season. I think we should be done with this. Do not give us a flash forward where the newcomers have integrated into the society and then we've got some new problems. I think continuing this pace along is going to be a much better choice. So very much looking forward to that. And also this week, for everyone here in the States, it is Thanksgiving. So I hope you all have a delicious Thanksgiving dinner coming up ahead of you. And if you're not, find some friends. Find some friends. Go have dinner with them. Do a restaurant thing if you are a small group. If you just know some people, you don't have a big family thing, you don't have access to a kitchen. A lot more restaurants are open up for Thanksgiving recently. So yeah, jump out there. Take the time to appreciate your community, your family, the people around you that you can be thankful for. You don't have to attribute it to anything else, but just as an excuse to get together with people you know and eat. Always a great bonding moment. So that is going to be it for me. Thank you so much for joining me on this review. And if you enjoyed it, please go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, and comments, you know where to put them? Down in the section below. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. What was your favorite scene? And what are your thoughts on that whole Stradivarius situation? Let me know what you guys think. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Please subscribe if you're not. It's quick and easy, 1 button press. Catch this review and everything else that we do. We'll throw a couple of those right here, including my recent foray into our trivia challenge I did over Enchantment of Eternity. I'll put it right here. You can check out how I did. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.